So today we'll talk about variables. Variables are basically a container which can store values so that it can be further used in a program by its variable name. So without further ado, let's create a variable. So for creating a variable, first we'll write let, L-E-T, then space, and then we'll write the name of variable. The name of variable can be anything. So here let's write first variable, and we can put a semicolon after this. Now we have created a variable named first variable. Now at this point, this variable has no value. Now we can assign any value to this variable. So for that, we'll write first variable is equal to any value we want. Let's say we want to store 38. And then we'll put a semicolon. Now this 38 value is assigned to first variable. Okay, now we have a value 38 inside this first variable. Now we can use this variable anywhere we want this value. Let's say we want to print 38. For that, we'll use this variable inside console log. So let's write console.log, and inside this we'll write first variable, and at the end we'll put a semicolon. Now save this file and here inspect it. There you can see we are getting first string and then 38 of this first variable. Here we can also do some calculations. Let's say first variable times 2. Now save this. You will see 38 times 2, 76. We got the result. Here first we declared a variable and then we initialized it to 38. We can do both declaration and initialization in the same line. So for that we'll cut this from here. Here only write is equal to 38. This will also work. Now save this. See, we can even change the value of this variable. Let's say here we write first variable is equal to now 52. Now to see whether this value was updated or not, we can see this in our console. Now save this. There we go. Instead of just any value, now here we have given a integer value. Instead of integer value, we can also give any string. Let's say we write good, and now save this. There you can see we have printed good. Now here you can also do calculations. Let's say you can write good plus, instead of an actual value, you can also give variable to it, any other variable or even the same variable which is currently being updated. So here we can also write first variable. Now this time what will happen, this value will be updated to what? First there is a string good, and then here plus means concatenation of strings. So first we have good, and this variable has a value of 38 at this point, although this is an integer at this time, but because of this string this will auto convert it into a string. So we'll have a value good 38 as a string stored in this variable, which will be printing here. So let's save this file. There we go, good 38. And let's say we have another variable, let I is equal to 5, and then we'll print this value. There we go, we have got I as 5. And let's say we want to increase the value of I by 3. So what we can do is, in the next line we can write I is equal to I plus 3. Save this. There we go. Now we have a shortcut for writing the same code. What we can do is we can write I plus is equal to 3. And this code has exactly same meaning as this code. So let's comment this value and see whether this works or not. See, we are still getting 8. In JavaScript, we often need this calculation. I is equal to I plus 1. So which is incrementing the variable by 1. Let's save this to see 9. Okay, we have got 9. Now we already know this shortcut, so we can apply here also. I plus is equal to 1. Save this, we'll get 10. Now this does not only work with plus, it can also work with minus. This is the shortcut for writing I is equal to I minus 1. So we'll get the same result what we had here, which is 8. So let's save this. Okay, there we go. Let's also write an increment for 1. Now this thing is used so often in the JavaScript. They created another shortcut for this, which is just I plus plus. Now this code means increment the value of I by 1. Now save this. See, we are getting 9. How? Here, get 8 here, 9, 8, and then again 9. And this is also for minus also. I minus minus, save this. Again, we are getting 9. Here, instead of plus, we can also have divide or multiplication. And this means I is equal to I times 3. You can see the result. So here I was 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Then here I became 16. Again 15. And then again 16. That's why we are seeing 16. And here I've told you we can write the name of variable anything what we want. It's true, but keeping in mind that there are some restrictions to naming a variable. So first restrictions is very obvious for all of you, is that we cannot use any keywords. Keywords are those words which are reserved by JavaScript, and those words have a special meaning. Let's say here we have a word let or console. We cannot have a variable called either let or console because they have special meaning for itself. So you cannot write let console is equal to 4. See, we are getting reference error because cannot access console before initialization. This was reserved word. Now here instead of console we can have anything except console. Let's say we write console 1, then this is acceptable. Now save this. See, we are getting no error. Now this was one of the restriction. Another restriction is you cannot have a number at the start of the sentence. Let's say here we write console 1, but we cannot write 1 console. Save this and we will get an error, syntax error, invalid or unexpected token. We can have number anywhere except at the start. We can write 1 at here also. Let's see, we are getting no error. So this was the second restriction. And third restriction is we cannot use any special symbol, let's say at the rate. This will give us an error. Syntax error. But we are allowed to use two symbols, and those are dollar and underscore. These two symbols are acceptable. Except these two symbols, we cannot use anything else. Now there are three ways to create any variable. First, that we have already learned by using let. Now here instead of let, we can have another word called const, C-O-N-S-T, which stands for constant. Now this means the value of this variable will remain 5 only. throughout this program. We cannot change the value of this variable. Here if we have declared it with let, then we can change the value later whenever we want. Now let's save this and let's try to change the value of this variable. Let's write console dollar underscore is equal to, let's say, 23. Now save this. See, we are getting error assignment to a constant variable. That's why we cannot change the value of constant. By default, you should use this method for creating variables because we know for sure that this value will always contain 5. And you only use let when you know that you may need to change the value of this variable. And there is also a third way of creating a variable by using var, var. Now any variable, let's say new var is equal to 34. Now this was the original way of creating a variable which is changeable. Therefore this var stands for variable only. But there are some issues with var which let does not have, which we will talk about later in this course. For now, usually we do not use var anymore. Instead we use let only. Now these were the 3 ways of creating a variable. Now one more thing, this method of naming a variable is called camel case convention, where we combine 2 words or more with the first letter of the word being in uppercase except for the first word. We have used camel case here also. Generally in JavaScript we use this type of naming convention only. There are other naming convention also. Let's say new underscore where this is called snake case. This is widely used in Python. We can also use this method because underscore is allowed, but usually we do not. And there is another method called Pascal case that looks something like new where we make the first letter of each word in uppercase. For JavaScript, we can have this camel case method. Here you might have also seen that when we declared this variable, we gave this an integer value and then later we changed it to a string. So let's see the data type of this value. So first of all, here we can write type of in space the variable name. Let's say save. See, we are getting a number because at this point this variable had 38 stored in it. Now here let's try that also. Type of. Now we are getting a string. Now same variable can have different type of value in JavaScript. For now that's all for variables from my side.